Well-being refers to how healthy and how happy we are, and it relates very closely to the definition of health that we looked at earlier. Fitness can affect our well-being in different ways, and fitness has both positive and negative effects on our well-being. The first positive effect of fitness on well-being is that it helps us to deal with the stressors in life. So a stressor is anything that produces stress within our bodies, and it often comes from work or from getting stressed at school. So if you're able to take part in exercise and become fitter and healthier, this is going to help you to deal with those stressors, and you'll suddenly feel a lot better and happier whilst you're at school and whilst you're at work, and you'll start to deal with that stress in a much more effective way. The main reason for this is the endorphins that we talked about earlier that are released in our brain when we take part in exercise. And this release of endorphins during activity makes us happier people and healthier people. So it makes it easier to deal with those stresses. Being fitter also positively affects our well-being because it lowers the risk of physical and psychological illnesses. So, in terms of physical illnesses, we're less likely to be obese, we're less likely to suffer from diabetes, and we're less likely to have a buildup of cholesterol, which can lead to high blood pressure. In terms of psychological illnesses, we've talked about before how exercise makes us feel good and being fitter makes us feel good. It fills us with confidence, and we're less likely to suffer from depression. However, fitness and exercise and sport can also have negative effects on our well-being. And the first reason for this, the first negative effects, is due to early specialization. And what that means is when children from a very young age are sort of pushed into only and solely playing one sport only. So it could be that a young boy or girl who's a footballer is told not to participate in other sports, or a golfer is told just to stick with golf and not to play other sports. Now, this can cause problems because it can bring about a very intense sort of livelihood as this young child is told to participate in that sport alone, and it can lead to stress, and it can lead to the child becoming obsessed with the sport and eventually getting fed up and withdrawing from that sport. Another negative effect of fitness on well-being comes about when a performer becomes injured. So we've talked all about the benefits that sport and fitness have on our well-being. But when that's taken away because of an injury, it can be very hard to deal with, particularly for people who are super fit and enjoy taking part in sport for a whole number of reasons. When that's suddenly taken away from them, it can lead to anxiety, and it can lead to depression. Finally, at an elite level, sport and fitness and exercise can lead to OCD and anxiety. So, OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder. So, we see often in society nowadays that people become obsessed with body shape, and that means they have to go to the gym several times a week, and they're not happy unless they're almost overworking in the gym, which can lead to injuries, but can also lead to anxiety and mental problems. This is also particularly relevant in sports where a very repetitive skill is required. So if we think about a golfer can get very obsessed with practicing their swing and making sure it's absolutely perfect. And this isn't necessarily a good thing if they end up overworking and overtraining. Also, if we think about a footballer who's a penalty taker, or a rugby player who's a goal kicker, it's a very repetitive nature to those skills, and a performer can become almost obsessed with practice, and it can lead to mental problems. So, to summarize this topic, Sport and fitness and exercise can have both positive and negative effects on well-being. The positive effects, we can see that people can cope better with the stresses in life that come from work and school. We have a lower risk of physical health problems such as diabetes or high blood pressure, and a lower risk of mental problems such as depression. However, the negative effects are that early specialization can lead to dropout in certain sports. Injuries are a big problem and can lead to depression. And also, elite performers can almost become obsessed with sports, which can lead to anxiety.